Life was different back then, and India and its culture seemed so far away and so romantic. Excited, stepping out into the big world alone for the first time, my heart was racing with excitement, and my mind was restless and fired with the enthusiasm of a child going to the circus. Soon enough, I would be running into Ronnie's arms, and everything would be okay. I mentally prepared myself for this journey. It was going to be long, with several stopovers through several time zones. But flying into Bombay, I was shocked at how small and primitive the airport looked at the time. A little neglected, ramshackle building, nothing like the airports I'd seen in Canada or Europe. India did not get a lot of tourists back then, and hippies were even more of a rarity. So it was easy enough to spot a foreigner in the crowd, and pretty soon I found Ronnie and waved. As we got to the hotel, Ronnie asked for the envelope. He got upset when the money I brought was $4,000 short. It became clear to me then that Ronnie was importing hash. A few days later, we visited an opium den, a first time for me. Opium dens, technically illegal, were often hidden behind a residence or upstairs over a shop. I remember the creepy feelings of trying to quietly climb the creaky, filthy, broken stairs that led to the opium den. A den was a crude affair, more like a dusty attic. We entered a cloudy, hazy room that was dimly lit, sparsely furnished, and full of people in various stages of reclining, all sharing the silent ceremony of opium euphoria, a blissed-out, dreamlike state of peace. I smoked, and I got so high that I don't remember how we got home. The next day, I was sick for 12 hours, vomiting and excreting black goop. I realized this stuff didn't agree with me and swore off opiates forever. Later, we went to Goa, and it seemed all the hippies in Bombay had either been or were going to Goa. Goa was the coolest place in India at that time. It had a spirit of sharing and acceptance, free love and freedom of expression. As a group, we hippies had no boundaries, no shame, and our mantra was, anything goes. So naturally, nudity, gender bending, and other eccentricities were welcomed without judgment. Goa is where I met Tony and Rini, who had given me help in my incarceration, but that's getting ahead of the story. For sure, as in the many expat communities, everyone knew everyone. Our stay in Goa was quite brief, and when we got back to Bombay, it was bad news for Ronnie. No money had come for him, but a collection of angry letters from his partners in Toronto. They hadn't received their hash, and they were pretty upset. We were strapped for cash, and Ronnie had been seriously counting on funds coming from home. Later at the Taj Mahal Hotel, sitting a few tables over from us, was an enormous, fat, and obviously wealthy man smoking a cigar. Ronnie: "What do you think? He must be pretty rich, eh?" "Yeah, well, so what?" Ronnie: "I'll bet a guy like that would pay a pretty price for a girl like you." "Ronnie, I can't believe what you're saying." "Aw, just kidding." The next day, the man was there again, and Ronnie started the same conversation. He kept pointing out that I was costing him money, and I wasn't contributing anything, and for a whole week he made my life miserable. Ronnie: "You know, you wouldn't have to do anything. I mean, just tease the guy a little, work your charm. I'm sure you could get something out of him." Ronnie, please lay off. You know I'm not that type of girl. Whatever it is you think I can do, I just don't dig your insinuation. So I read to keep my mind off the aching cramps in my belly. I read to keep my mind off the lice. I read to remind myself that I was still functioning, because when I didn't read, all I could do was cry. The spiritual books were a special delight, not just because of the stimulation, but because they came from my companions and represented great human kindness. I read excerpts from Rabindranath Tagore's poetry and Mohandas Gandhi's teachings and the teachings of Krishnamurti. Tired of culture, I turned to the spiritual teachings of Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh and Paramahansa Yogananda. My Bible was the seminal Be Here Now by Baba Ram Das, the former Harvard professor known as Richard Alpert. Through them, I learned of death, rebirth, former lives, and karma. I also learned about overcoming ego, about good moral behavior, right thinking, and about the alchemy of the spirit. In fact, I felt like I was going through a serious kind of personal alchemy, a transformation of spirit, right now, here in jail. But I got sicker and sicker, and I hadn't had my period in 2 months, and I was sure that I was pregnant. Worse, I didn't even know if it was Ronnie's or Richard's. Feeling abandoned, frightened, and alone, I also prayed a lot, earnestly and sincerely, begging God to get me out of this and promising to be good after. I just want to go home. I can't take it anymore. I was reduced to a pitiful, weeping, lost child, and despised myself even more. Nobody came when I screamed, and rolling in pain on the floor, begging for relief. God, where are you now? The next Monday, the doctor did come and told me I had chronic dysentery and prescribed me something. Then I told him I thought I was pregnant. He ordered someone to bring some bitter concoction to drink and told me not to worry, that I would have my period in 3 days. If not, then I am definitely pregnant. 3 days passed, and when I finished emptying my bowels and began to pour the bucket of water to flush, I saw a bright red stain gleaming on the porcelain. I was stunned. I got my period. Hallelujah! Two months of incarceration, and it seemed like forever. Kamala, the prostitute, my only friend, kept me entertained with her endless humor and wit and her encouragement. I was amazed this woman could be so happy with so little in her life. I learned that she had worked in Bombay brothels most of her life, although she was originally from Gujarat. As a child of 10, she and her brother Patil were brought to Bombay to work in textile mills. The employer was a cruel man, and when she reached puberty, the man began to molest her. She ran away and soon became a captive prostitute in the famous Bombay cages. Luckily, she found a sympathetic client, a businessman who purchased her freedom. He gave her an apartment and brought her wealthy clients. He took only a small cut and gave her presents. She gained weight until she no longer possessed her once stunning figure, but she still had a few faithful clients. She was forced to supplement her income now by smuggling gold. She was only 35, but looked a lot older.